The next section of the application is the reporting section. This section of the grant application contains information that we must collect for the state. Some of the questions later on in the application may seem redundant after answering these first questions, but please note, this section of the application will not be seen by reviewers, so please take your time in answering each and every question thoughtfully. As it says at the beginning of this section, these report fields are not used in the evaluation of your grant request and are simply used for data collection purposes. The evaluation of your grant request begins after the instructions section. So to repeat, you are not evaluated on this information. It is for data purposes only, but please be honest in your answers. Some common questions that we get about this section refer to the audience benefiting from the project. Here's that section here. This number should be your best estimate of people who will view or experience your work in relation to your grant. If awarded, you will be asked for actual outcomes in your final report, so these numbers can be used to compare between what you were hoping for and what you actually achieved. The next few lines are easier to fill out once you've completed your application budget and can be skipped until you have completed the document. These lines, such as total project expenses, cash expense of the project, and project in kind, are all pieces that will become more apparent as you fill out your application budget. The next piece are your start date and end date. These dates are pretty easy to determine if you follow the guidelines given. For your start date, follow the rule that the starting date should be approximately 1 month before your project is to take place or before you have to contract for services, but this date cannot be before the grant deadline's earliest possible starting date shown on the grant program page and found in the guidelines. The end date rule is that the ending date should be approximately 2 months after the actual proposed completion of your project to allow time to close out all aspects of the project before submitting your final report. The final part of the reporting section is the goals and measurable outcomes and evaluations. Because our funding comes from public sources, it is important that you define goals and evaluation processes for your project. The goal statement should provide a concrete picture of what your organization's vision of success is for this project and should also reflect the aims of the ARAC program for which you are applying. Your evaluation processes, or methods to measure your outcomes, should give your organization answers about whether your project has fulfilled or furthered the goals you've described. In short, how will I know if my project was successful? The information you provide here should reflect the information you provide in your grant narrative in the next section of your application.